Yeah.
It's a big time job there.
Very, very nice.
That's great. We're excited about it.
Got a couple recruits for y'all. Come holler at me.
There you go. We're coming.
Especially if y'all got tennis shoes. I mean, no.
Our national title game is all set, Jason. We've got two teams that are raring to go. NCAA championship time. It's Michigan. It's Villanova. Michigan, winners of their last 14, and the team that ended Loyola Chicago's historic run. On the other side, there's Villanova. There's Jay Wright. Nova's been beating teams by an average of almost 18 points during the tournament this season. It's making it look easy. How wide is the gap, do you think, between these two teams at this point?
Well, I think Villanova has been the best team in the country all season. When you couple the fact they have great guard play, experienced players, and so many interchangeable parts, they can beat you from the three. Their bigs are so versatile and so skilled, they can stretch out. You have 5 shooters on the court at all times, but they can also defend, and they can grind it out when they have to. The difference in this game, in my opinion, Michigan is very good defensively, and they have a skilled big of their own that can sit down and guard some of those guys up front, but can also make them have to defend him on the perimeter as well.
It's easy to talk about Villanova, their overall success, Jay Wright. Let's just say they have an unfortunate accident going to the arena tonight, all of their starters.
Okay.
Which one of these starters is the most important for what Villanova is trying to accomplish?
Well, it's the head of the snake. It's Jalen Brunson, who's going to sweep National Player of the Year, in my opinion.
Wow.
This guy isn't quick. He's not overly fast and overly athletic. He beats you right here. He sees things 2 steps ahead. He can break you down and make shots, but he can also keep that floor spread and be the general, getting everybody involved. He's the best player in college basketball that people aren't talking about. And it's refreshing when you have an older player, a junior, who has that experience, who's running the team, who's leading from the top, and everyone understands that, and they're following him to the national title.
Does it frustrate you at all, as someone that loves college basketball, that so often when we're talking about college basketball players, the guys who we talk about the most are not necessarily the best players in college basketball of the year, but the guys that project to be the best pros?
Potential.
But best, like, listen, Jalen Brunson this year was better than, I would say, Wendell Carter, certainly, and arguably Marvin Bagley. But both those guys are going to be top 8 picks.
Yes.
And Jalen Brunson might be, he could be 9, 14, somewhere there. We talked a ton about DeAndre Ayton. Like, we spend so much time talking about the guys that we think are going to be NBA pros, sometimes at the expense of guys that are college basketball stars. That's not to say Jalen Brunson's not going to have a successful pro career, but you understand what I'm saying?
I do. And we talk about guys who give us the highlights. When you think of Trae Young, what he was able to do, you know, scoring 40 points, 50 points, facilitating, lead the nation in scoring and assists. And Jalen Brunson just goes about his business quietly, leading his team, winning with a bigger goal in mind. And let's be honest, his father had a long career coming out of Temple. Jalen Brunson is better. He's a lefty. He facilitates. He showed in the semifinals he can score whenever he feels like it. From the top of the key against another great player in Devontae Graham. He's been the best player all season. And he's leading the charge of this well-balanced attack that can score in so many different ways, but also they defend at a high level as well.
Jason, we don't always use the word experience when you talk about college basketball and in the tournament, because these guys aren't always the same group, the core group that comes back year after year. But you can say that a little bit with this Villanova team. I wonder how much of a factor experience is with Jay Wright's crew.
Well, it plays a huge factor. These guys, when you think of Mikal Bridges and Brunson, these guys were role players on that national championship team 2 years ago. They understand what it means to be in that moment, to be on that big stage.
So the moment doesn't become too big for them.
It's not too big for them.
Right.
And the other guys just follow along. Omari Spellman, he's a star, all right? He's a young player that's a star, but this is his first moment. What a lucky ability to have these guys to lean on, especially at the point guard position, who's an extension of Jay Wright on that court.
You talk about their lineup. You talk about everything starts with their point guard. Let's just talk about styles. Because typically we don't see a team that plays this style shooting this number of threes, and they still have the classic line. Typically they're undersized, they're undermanned, so they're trying to make up for it. I mean, they have the prototype college basketball lineup. Do you think this style could be a problem going against Michigan's defense in the championship game tonight?
Michigan is going to have to solve the riddle of not allowing themselves to get spread out. And when I say that, a lot of times Villanova is going to have 5 guys on the perimeter. They're not always picking and rolling. They're picking and popping. They have 5 guys. Pascal can make a 3. Spellman can make a 3. And then you have to keep Brunson in front of you. Keep them in front so you're not in rotation, so it is maybe a shorter closeout. They spread you out so wide, even when you're trying to recover, you have such a long run to get to them. It starts at the point of attack. You have to contain Brunson. You have to keep the defense solid and continuity and together, so now you're not closing out to all these shooters having to run halfway across the floor.
The other thing Michigan's going to have to do is score.
Yes.
Because the fact of the matter is, this is the #1 offense in college basketball against the top 10 defense. This is a team that is setting three-point records in the NCAA tournament against a team, Michigan, that has only allowed 18 three-pointers all tournament. That's remarkable. That's a great job, especially because they've been winning most of those games, so you would think teams are firing from deep. But here's my question for this game. If I'm asking, can Michigan score enough to win this game? Villanova's played 25 games in 2018 since January 1. They've scored at least 70 in all of them. They've scored at least 80 in 20 of the 25 games. Like, what's the number of points Michigan has to get to? Because what's the let me ask you, like, what's the Michigan plays great defense. They hold Villanova to what? 72?
Right.
You know what I mean? So what's the number Michigan has to get to?
I think Michigan has to play a game like they did against Texas A&M, where they knock down 13, 14 three-point shots,
99
spread
points
the ball around, and that's the point. They have to score the basketball. Defense is great, but you have to be able to score on the other end. When you look at the Loyola-Chicago game, no one could pull away in the first half. Both defenses were stout, but no one was scoring. Against Villanova, you're going to have to score that basketball. Mo Wagner has to have a good game because he's the key. He's a guy that, again, that can sit down and move around on the defensive end, but he can also spread you out and knock down three-point shots.
I know how good Villanova is, we all do. Is there a possibility that we're underrating Michigan just a little bit? They have won 14 straight. They have quietly just made their way through the tournament and are playing in the championship game tonight.
And they have a great coach on the sideline as well. John Beilein is a great coach.
I think he's the best coach at the University of Michigan. But
that basketball school, University of Michigan.
Yeah, him and the softball coach are the ones.
I hear you. I hear you. I think Michigan is a very good team, and what they've been able to do in this stretch, they band together. They make up themselves not by just one elite player, but the sum of their parts. They defend. They make it tough on you. They can ugly the game up. But again, the key is they have to be able to score. To beat Villanova, you have to put that ball in the basket, and their key players have to step up. Charles Matthews, Duncan Robinson off the bench. Those guys have to come in ready to play, scoring the basketball.
So those are the X factors. That was going to be one of my questions. Yes. But before we head out, give us a winner and why.
Well, I think it's Villanova. They've been the best team in the country all year. They defend, and they're just so difficult to guard. They spread you out. Perfect spacing. The best player in college basketball, who happens to be the point guard, who's the general of that team. They have experience. 2 national championships possibly in 3 years. We have to start talking about Jay Wright in the same breath as we talk about Coach K, Coach Williams, Bill Self, those guys. He's earned that right. And again, he's building a dynasty. Some of these guys are going to move on. But you look at the young players who have now become stars.
Yeah,
I'm looking right at Spellman. These guys are built to last, moving not only tonight, but into the future.
If they win tonight, they would join Duke, Kentucky, and Florida as the only teams to win at least 2 and 3 years in the last 40 years of college basketball.
Absolutely. It's impressive.
Jason, thank you so much.
Great job.
Thanks for having me.
Look forward to the game.
Also, good luck to your brother.
I appreciate it.
The brothers can be friends of the show.
Hail to Pitt.
Okay, let's do it, Pitt.
Which quarterback has the best chance of turning around the Browns? Said the Browns.